Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Very good afternoon. Welcome to University of Malaya. So, I'm so glad to be here after months and months. This almost feels like normal. I don't care whether people call it the new normal or whatever it is. It's more normal than before. And it certainly feels good to be back here on stage, and it feels even better to be able to welcome our distinguished guest today on Ali Zakri. Yang Mulia Tengku Ali Zakri. um, what should I call you actually? Zakri. I think let's do it like that. Yeah. So very happy to welcome him again because it's not his first time in UM, and to a program that has been going on now for a couple of years, and this program is called the CEO at Faculty, a program curated by the Ministry of Higher Education now, in where they actually uh, provide a platform for the exchange of talent between academia and industry at the highest level. And in the case of CEO at Faculty program, it is really to get the best of our CEOs to come into campus to share not just with staff, but also especially with students, to inspire us, to teach us, to share with us all the different things that I think universities need to know to be relevant. And I think the MCO in the last couple of months has really highlighted how much we need to be communicating with each other and how much a platform is needed for us to be able to meet and discuss and really strategize for the future. And the future is what we're going to talk about today, right? And today, of course, we have the CEO of EPF, but it's the Chief EPF Officer, and I think he will explain to us himself how that change of name came about.
Oh, okay.
At least I'm curious. I'll certainly ask about it. And what does it imply in terms of leadership as well? Because a name is very important, and it gives an understanding of what you are, what you do. And EPF, I think I don't have to explain, or KWSP, is for many of us, it is really how we secure our future. And we're very grateful to EPF for being a partner with us for many, many years through our Center for Social, SWRC, our Social Welfare Research Center, and many, many other programs that we have done together. But today, of course, we're very more interested in the thoughts of Ali Zakri, who is the Chief EPF Officer since 20th of August 2018. He has a law degree from King's College, Masters of Business Administration, and a whole lot of experience actually in managing not just funds, because I also note that you were the COO of ICLIF Leadership, right? So a little bit of an academic there somewhere. He's a thespian, if you all know what that means. He's into the arts and culture as well. So this is something, again, that I think all of us should really look at how we live and work, and that we shouldn't confine ourselves to just what we are asked to do or what we think we can do, but look at all the opportunities of what we possibly can do as well. So I'm not going to say much more, or else it'll be my talk. I'd like to welcome Ali Zakri to the stage, but just to share, we have more than 150 students mostly online with us today. We welcome students and staff as well here. So the lucky ones are here. So wave to the crowd, everybody. Everybody else is stuck at home listening on. But we hope that this will be the start of many more back to normal sessions with our partners and friends. Zakri, all yours.
All right. Hello. Hi. Good afternoon. Mic's on, right? Mic's on? Okay, so it's a rather bizarre feeling because I can see this hall which can fit several hundred people. And I know that as what Prof was saying just now, there's around 150 of you. So I think I now know how it feels like to perform for a Chinese opera during Hungry Ghost Month, yeah? Where there's lots of people, but you don't see anybody here. So that's one advantage, I suppose, that comes out from MCO. Okay, so what am I going to be talking about? I think for a majority of you, for those of you who are about to go into the job market very soon, or who's just started their job market, so when we were discussing in terms of the topic that we wanted to talk about, we thought that this would be very relevant, especially in light of COVID, in light of Wow, okay, I have to stop looking at empty chairs. I'm going to look at the people here instead. Okay, and please, yeah, give me a bit of energy also, yeah, so at least I know I'm presenting to human beings. So, in light of the MCO, the world is different now, right? And the faster we accept it for what it is, the faster we'll be able to adapt and actually prosper and benefit from it. So, if you can actually see, okay, you've done this. I hope you guys have done. This is real, is it? This good, awesome thing? These are real. Wow, I'm glad. You guys are feeling good, awesome, great. Considering, I don't know, is it because you're at home or what? I'm not sure, but I'm... Somebody sleepy? Okay, I'm going to wake you up because I'm going to be scaring you also, okay? So you might not be feeling like that after my presentation, but we'll leave it to the Q&A. So these are some of the things that you are concerned about. Work-life balance. Oh, that's going to be interesting because that's exactly one of the things that I'll be talking about later on also. And again, I'll be depressing you further. So I don't know now if we are all logging off or what, I'm not sure. But please stay on because there's light at the end of the tunnel, all right? My intention here is not really to go and scare you, but just to prepare you for the realities of life and to go and prepare you for the best future that you can have, yeah? So the first thing that I want to go into, there's going to be two parts that I want to go and focus on, yeah? Cameraman, should I stay still or should I walk up and down? Boleh ya, jalan? Okay, good. So there are two parts of it, yeah? I want to go and present you with the facts of life. The facts of life is something that you don't need to like or dislike. It's just something which is a fact of life. And it's something that we have to accept because it's a fact of life. And the faster we understand and the faster we accept it, the faster we'll be able to adapt to it. Okay? So for those of you in the facts of life, there are 4 things that I want to focus on specifically. And the first part is what I call VUCA. Anybody knows what VUCA is? You all know? Okay, because if you don't know what VUCA is, I'm not swearing at you. It's a 4-letter word, but I'm not swearing at you. So V stands for the world is a volatile place. The world is an uncertain place. The world is a complex place, and the world is an ambiguous place. Isn't that how you're feeling now, right? When you're about to go to the job market. So the bad news is, for young people who say, oh, you know what, once I start work, I grow up, things are going to be smooth sailing because everything becomes clear. The bad news is, welcome to the real life. Because even when I'm now standing in front here, I've hit the 5 series, the 50-year-olds, the new 40s, yeah? Even now, I'm still living a world of VUCA. Tomorrow is going to be substantially different than today. And if you keep on thinking that every day is going to be exactly the same, that's a recipe for failure, all right? So, this year, if this year was on the back of a really bad year from last year. And 2019 was on the back of a very bad year from 2018. And it seems to be the case that every year was progressively getting better. Getting worse. So you can see at the beginning of this year, Brexit. During that time, still unresolved. US trade war up till now, it's still going on. Climate change. I think I just read somewhere that there was a sit-down in the Arctic Circle that hit record high temperatures. Yeah, just recently, as in like a few days ago. So, climate change is no longer science fiction, it's science fact. Very scary world that we are living in. And COVID was a multiplier on the VUCA world. So this year, so 2019 was VUCA already, yeah? 2020 is VUCA on steroids. COVID just accelerated the craziness of the world that we are living in. That's why you can actually see there was a lot of people, maybe some of you are feeling it. You know that feeling of depression, the feeling of out of control, of not knowing what was happening. And that was what COVID was doing. It wasn't so much the COVID, but it was the world that we are living in that is being accelerated and being felt at our levels on an individual level. So you can already see the impact of VUCA. You see, I can't COVID, VUCA, all the V's there, virus. COVID, okay, positive cases Alhamdulillah, yeah, Malaysia. Now, some of us might be always complaining about Malaysia, but I think this is one thing that we actually did right, lah. Yeah, in terms of our response to COVID. I used to always say dulu, Malaysians ni, we are so compliant people. And, we won't be able to survive the future if we are too compliant. But you know what is that degree of compliance that was actually our savior. So kadang-kadang ni, everything ada hikmah. It's all about the mindset, right? We can see now US, wow, that's a disaster zone lah already at this point of time. So I don't want to go too much into that. And you can see it, the death, unfortunately, we've been recording some deaths. But also the good news is in terms of the recovery of cases. Yeah. So pandemics by definition, they kata that occurs every 100 years, or so. I think the last one we really suffered was the Spanish flu, right? If I'm not mistaken, which was in 1910 or so. So roughly around every 100 years lah. And by the way, Spanish flu did not come from Spain. Okay, just like the COVID is not a flu from China, by the way. At least that's what I think so. But I anticipate that issues of pandemics is going to become faster and faster. Because with the introduction of things like AirAsia, where everybody can fly, right, and mega airports, so we are now creating like hotpots of new diseases that might actually come out. So, I mean, we were very lucky that COVID in terms of the mortality rate was actually quite low, right, compared to MERS, is it MERS? MERS. MERS was, I think it's a 30% fatality rate. At least for COVID is much, much lower than that, but the infectious rate is much higher. So to me, I always say, I think this was a message from the great creator who's saying, be careful, be ready, because this is the beginning of lots more to come. So, is it really all doom and gloom? It's all a matter of mindset. Sensor actually mentioned that in the midst of chaos, there's also opportunity. So it's really your choice. Do you want to treat this as totally negative? Do you want to treat this as the thing that completely destroys everything that we know? Or do you actually see it as an opportunity? An opportunity to reinvent ourselves, an opportunity to reset ourselves, an opportunity for us to find out what is really, really relevant in our lives, yeah? So Winston Churchill, I really like that statement by Winston Churchill, because never let a good crisis go to waste. Because this is the time when you can go and do crazy things, yeah? Because this is a crazy situation, and this is the time for you to experiment, so to say, on a lot of the things that you've always wanted to do, but because in the previous life, you never wanted to go and disturb the status quo, you would never do, right? So actually, you can take this as an opportunity. And the challenges that we are going to face, from COVID, so remember, VUCA was already bad enough. COVID is a steroid which is going to go and accelerate. So we can see global recession in 2020 expected anywhere from -2.5 to -7%. So in terms of economic crisis, this is the worst economic crisis globally that we have ever seen in modern history. Yeah. So if you want to say that we are privileged enough to live through these times, or you can actually say we are unfortunate enough to live through this time. This is the sort of story that you'll be telling your grandchildren and most likely great-grandchildren about how you survived COVID. Yeah? In terms of GDP, we estimate that it's going to go down by at least 347 billion US dollars. Yeah? This is still relatively conservative, I think. But what I think we are more worried about is about that 305 million global job losses. For Malaysia, we are anticipating 2.3 million to around maybe 2.4 million job losses. So for those of you who are about to go into the job market, this is going to be a very challenging time for you, yeah, because you really need to ensure that you are relevant for the job market in order for you to go and get a job. When this is a situation when there's not enough jobs out there, or is it? Okay, so the impact to the less fortunate, a lot of us here actually take internet connection for granted. But I think some of us saw this news, right? of this Sabah University student who had to spend 24 hours on top of a tree because she couldn't get internet connection, good internet connection, and she was sitting for an exam. Yeah, so we have to be so grateful that things that we take for granted is available to us at the touch of a button. Well, you know, in terms of SOPs for lining up, we are seeing also some worrying numbers in terms of pajak gadai, lines happening outside of pawn shops. So the need for cash is real. I mean, I can go into another hour to talk about iLestari from an EPF perspective, but that's not the whole purpose of this talk. Okay, maybe, hopefully, you might like my talk enough to go and invite me for another one to talk about iLestari or in the future. But again, as we said, is it all doom and gloom, or were there some interesting things that actually came out from it? Right? We saw in the way we were spending. It actually transformed the way that we had been spending. So you can see less spending, cruises, fitness, movie theaters, apparel, fast food. So is this necessarily a bad thing also? You can actually say, hey, maybe it is actually a good thing, possibly, right? In terms of charitable giving. Yes, charitable giving went down, but charitable acts went up. So to me, I don't know, maybe the act of actually doing something charitable is much better than just signing off your conscience. You know, sometimes you kasi 10 ringgit, I feel good already, I've done good, right? But is that really true? Maybe it's a good thing. And in terms of more spending that was happening, I'm not sure about the alcohol. I hope the alcohol was more for untuk membasmi kuman ya daripada minum ya. But we could see that went up. Food delivery went up. The one which I wasn't too happy about is in terms of gaming lah. Online gaming really went up. Okay, so everything that's good and bad. Yeah, but we can actually see the transformation of life as we know it. Digital move also, digital transformation of organizations. Actually, this might look like a joke, but this is actually real. You know, whenever I used to go and present to my board and I say, I need a few double-digit million in order for me to do my digital transformation, the board always gave me that look, you know, what, are you crazy or something? But because of COVID, because we had to do work from home, right, and we had to deliver services digitally, all of a sudden this was top priority for every CEO and every board. Luckily for EPF, we started our digital transformation 2 years ago. I think, Prof, when I was last on the stage, I was saying about the digital transformation. Luckily, we actually did it. So the orders for computers and laptops, which we had put in last year, you know, we were ahead of the queue from a lot of companies who suddenly said, I need to buy laptops. In March, there was not one computer you could buy anywhere in Kuala Lumpur, laptop. Seriously, you couldn't find it anywhere because everybody was desperately buying laptops, right? So COVID was the biggest mover for digital transformation of organizations. Oh, in terms of Mother Nature, right? I think I have to say, this is one thing that I really enjoyed. I started listening to birds again around my neighborhood. You know, we actually could hear birds. Hearing a car was actually the anomaly. Kadang-kadang tu bila duduk tu selalu dia, oh, saya apa benda lah kereta ni, dekat mana lah dia orang pergi, tak ada MCO ke? You know what I mean? So Mother Nature made its comeback. And I think we saw already now the haze has started again. So again, yeah, everything, there's minus, but there's also positive. It's a matter of mindset. And also, you know, when we actually do our work from home, we have to be very careful because, can we start the video? Very short video. This is sometimes, this is real, by the way. It's, so I do, you know, there's actually one photo that I won't share with you. I was doing an AGM. So dari atas sini, I'm wearing tie, you know, semua. Bawah ni, I'm just wearing shorts and slippers. So I have to remind myself all the time, don't stand up, sit, stay seated. Yeah? So if you don't believe, I actually have a photo to prove that. So be very careful. And this is one of the more polite videos that we can show. Okay, lifestyle. For those of you who love your family, this was the best time, right? For you to go and reconnect. But I also know some people who want to give their children up for adoption after this period, right? Some meetings that we were having, one of my senior officers was having a meeting in his car. And I was like saying, are you outside of the house? They said, no, I'm in my garage. It's because my cats are also jumping on the table. My children are running in the background. So he had to do his meetings in his car also, yeah? We also rediscovered, the pleasures of the simple life. People started growing tomatoes in their homes. I started taking a passion in gardening, for example, and baking. I'm not a bad baker actually nowadays, so I've started baking. So the simple pleasures of life, we started rediscovering what's essential to make us happy at the end of the day. Maybe it's not all about money. It's about simple things like this, right? Okay. And out of COVID, as I said, COVID is the steroid to a lot of the existing things that is happening in the world. And we saw that global trends that we used to talk about, macam going to happen in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, 30 years' time, is actually happening now and today. Digital adoption, as what I had mentioned to you earlier on, new social norms and behaviors, right? This thing is now becoming a norm. Low touch, high distance, as what we're all doing now, right? Consumption patterns are different now. New ways of work, as I mentioned, right? And the rise of the gig and informal sector. So for those parents who used to say, to warn their daughters, jangan keluar dengan mak rempit yang tu, tak ada kerja tu. Now they are the heroes, right? They are the Grab delivery heroes. They are our actual heroes. So things have changed. Well, life has changed. Things that never used to be of importance before suddenly has taken importance in this new life. So again, as I said, COVID-19 is an accelerator for digitalization and IR 4.0. So it's a good segue into IR 4.0. IR 4.0 means Industrial Revolution 4.0. Yeah? I've talked about this 2 years ago. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and have a look at my last talk. But IR 4.0 is here to stay because companies, corporations, governments are saying in a world of high touch, low touch, high distance, service delivery, digitalization is the way forward. So this might actually have an impact on a lot of you out there, a lot of you who might be doing degrees that might not be relevant in the next 1 or 2 years' time, okay? So these are some sobering facts. It's a fact of life, right? Very high youth graduate unemployment in Malaysia. These are Malaysian numbers, by the way. It's not global numbers. Yeah, 60% of graduates remain unemployed after 1 year. 60% of you will be sitting at home with your irritating your parents, okay? If you don't reinvent yourself, unfortunately. These are real numbers. 15 to 25% of the rate of youth is expected, yeah, because of COVID. Because now, not only are you going to be competing with other graduates, but you will also be competing with other people who are much more experienced than you, who no longer have a job. Okay? So remember, I'm saying this is just a fact of life. I'm not here to make you like the fact or dislike the fact. I just need you to see the facts and prepare yourself accordingly. And one of the reasons of this unemployment, high rate of unemployment in Malaysia, is because of this skills mismatch in Malaysia itself, right? 8 in 10 employers are seeking graduates in STEM courses. 80% of the jobs being offered is for STEM. But we know that more than 60% of graduates are actually in the humanities. So people are getting this piece of paper for skills that employers don't want. As another one which has actually stated here, 3 in 10 tertiary students are enrolled in STEM. So for those of you who are in your 3rd year or 4th year in humanities, it doesn't necessarily mean you are not required, but it's how do you pivot yourself to make yourself relevant, okay? These are just facts of life, but I'm going to give you some tools on how you can actually pivot yourself to make yourself relevant for the job market. But firstly, you need to see the facts. So with IR 4.0, the data which is actually showing here, that there are already new jobs requirements which requires new skill sets that is not available today. You look at the numbers. 50% of undergraduate degrees will be obsolete within 5 years. Actually, 5 years is quite conservative. I would actually, there's a lot of the graduates' degrees out there which is already obsolete today. And again, I will show you some more of the data. Yeah? And in terms of the potential losses, in terms of the creation, yeah? We estimate, and again, this is a very conservative number, any number from last year. This is not accelerated by COVID. If you put COVID, you might actually see this happening within 10 years' time. 65% of jobs in Malaysia may be automated by 2050 or 2030. So a lot of the things that we take for granted will be done by machines now. You don't believe me? Let's have a look at some of the data which is actually looking up here. So we break our jobs down into what we call technical and non-technical skills. Yeah? And we actually, there's actually some websites out there which will will assess the type of jobs that you are going to go into, the skills that you have, and how obsolete it is in the very near future. If you are an accountant, there's a 94% chance that your job will be replaced by a machine. Yeah? That's what basically this number is showing. If you're a pilot, 55%. If you're a lawyer, it's 4%. Basically, machines will replace jobs that is repetitive, that is boring, that deals with big numbers. Macam day in, day out is the same thing aja, right? So if you're talking about accountants, it's exactly that. Dealing with just numbers, dealing with things that is repetitious in nature, day in, day out is the same thing. Machines can do that faster and much more accurate than human beings, right? If you think it's only just accountants, by the way, so if you're a doctor, for example, yeah, you might be thinking, I'm definitely safe, because who doesn't need a doctor? Actually, in the US, they've actually done AI with radiologists, yeah? One AI has a 90% success rate better than 2 human radiologists in identifying cancers. Think about that. So no job is safe. But there are some jobs that's safer than others. Let's put it that way. Okay, how about the so-called general jobs or non-technical jobs? Yeah? So if you're a cashier, I mean, we already seeing this happening, right? All the McDonald's, you pergi dekat sana, ada that machine, you pijit, you take out the card and you touch it. In China, you don't even need your card because your face is your card. Facial recognition. It's already in play. So things are becoming easier and easier and easier where human beings are not needed anymore, right? So if you compare between the two, being an accountant and being a cashier is the same chances of you being replaced by machines. So for those of you who's taking accounting degrees, some of you might be saying, you know what, did I just waste 4 years of my life? I should have just been a cashier because it's just going to be the same level of capability. Again, I'll be sharing with you on ways to pivot later on. Good news is teachers. So prof, you'll still have a job. Very low chance of you being replaced by a machine, yeah? Because at the end of the day, when you are teaching, right, nothing beats the human element. Nothing beats that human experience. Yes, you know, you have Dr. Google or Professor Google, but at the end of the day, Google cannot provide context. Betul tak? So I always, if you don't understand what I'm saying is, okay, if I say this to you, yeah, right. You know I'm being sarcastic, right? You know I'm actually saying, no, you're actually not right. If a machine, currently at this point of time, will just take my words, yeah, right, oh, betul, ting, because it doesn't understand context. Human beings understands context. That's one thing that machines cannot do at this point of time. Yeah. So there are certain areas that we are still safe. Yeah. Ross. Ross is actually an AI-powered bot lawyer hired in 2016 in the US. By the way, in China, you can already do dispute resolution by an AI via your mobile. So kalau you terlanggar kereta, you can literally just ambil gambar and all that. You put it via your AI code, and an AI will say siapa yang salah. It's already in China, by the way. Yeah? So even judges will soon be replaced by robots. Scary world that we live in. Okay, so actually, it's not the jobs that is going to be, that is important. It's actually the role that you have that will determine whether you have a future or not. Okay? So what do I mean by the role? Is the function and scope that can be replaced by technology. Remember, kalau your function is all about bookkeeping lah, repetitious, then that will be taken over by machines. But if your role handles more complex human aspect, it'll be much more stable. So for example, okay lah, at least my job is still there lah, yeah, chief executive masih lah ada kerja. Because being a CEO is about being able to see all across the context and the issues across the whole organization and outside, and making knowledge and wisdom out of that. Yeah? So again, machines are very, very clever. But machines are not able to go and take something that's happening in HR, which might actually have impact in the investment team, for example. Right? A machine cannot manage my top talent. Because my top talent, I might be paying him or her top dollar, tapi dia tak suka. Kenapa? Sebab orang yang duduk depan tu, dia tiap-tiap kali dia pergi sabuk I. For example, right? Machines cannot handle that. Machines cannot handle human relationships. But also, there are some new roles that is going to be created. Remember, I showed you that statistics just now, 65% of jobs in Malaysia will disappear. Yes, 65% of jobs will disappear. But there's going to be a whole new type of jobs that is also being created, right? AI and machine learning specialists, big data specialists, innovation professionals. Okay, who would even think during my time, 10 years ago, a social media manager? Apa benda kerja social media manager tu? Oh, duduk tengok Facebook. Even 5 years ago, you'd be saying, what? I pay somebody to go and look at Facebook? But nowadays, that job is critical in any organization. I'm telling my HR, I'm telling my corporate comms here, where is your social media specialist? Right? Bayar orang yang tengok Twitter, or you know. So these are new jobs, that things that we never used to think about. I can still remember I talked to my nephew a few years ago. He loves to play Call of Duty, right? Online games, right? Call of Duty. During that time, I sort of like knew. I said, hey, you actually should do this. You boleh buat duit ni. Tapi kalau orang lain kata, tak ada kerja lain, main game. Main game. But now, Dota are millionaires. Dota champions are millionaires. League of Legends players are millionaires. They are celebrities in their own right. You have huge stadiums just watching a computer screen with those little animation going around, right? That's the new jobs that nobody used to think about that can actually make the money, right? So, the ones which is under threat are the ones which are redundant, the roles and the jobs that is repetitious in nature, that actually, you know, handles huge amount of data, that's going to go, because that will be taken over by machines. But the ones which will evolve through technology, meaning using technology to do their jobs even better, like for me now, as a CEO, I can use Google to get a lot of information. But transforming that information into knowledge, only I can do it, right? And new roles. So this is how you should actually start looking at where your jobs are. And by 2022, this is the job market that we anticipate. 48% will be in stable roles, 27% will be in new roles, and 21% will be redundant. So you guys need to go and decide which color do you want to be, and which color do you want to develop your skills and competencies in. Majority of you who are young, you have the advantage of age behind you. For people like me, 50 years old, wow, I just revealed my age. For people like, okay, 50 years old, it's a bit late for me to go from here to here, to tell you the truth, seriously speaking, right? But for you young people, You have the advantage of age. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Okay. So, quick one again, the new ways of work. Still the same. Teachers will still be teachers, lecturers will still be lecturers, but it's going to go away from classroom learning to digital learning, right? That's what you guys already are experiencing at this point of time. An engineer will now go from just planning and coordinating to high-performance computing and agility. For example, one of our companies, MRCB, I think you've seen, macam KL Central, built by MRCB, kan? They are already going into modular housing. Modular housing means the houses are actually constructed in factories. So they have that square, which is like, katalah you are buying a 1,000 square feet home, tapi you can customize each home. You want 3 bedrooms ke, 2 bedroom ke, 1 bedroom or no bedroom, how big a size, and then they send it to the factory, they will construct it, and then dia bawanya satu rumah tu, one block, they bring it to the site, and then they click it on like Lego. So, you don't need to go and have the people on site, you know, dekat sini, pakai hard hat and all that. But you need to have engineers in the factory to do precision engineering. So, in the future, when you cakap, saya ni kerja kontrak buat rumah, it's actually high precision jobs, by the way. It's no longer your kontrak buruh. Okay, so as I said, it is about evolution. So, and it also brings a lot of value. So, for example, lecturers, I think Prof, all the professors here can empathize. When you actually do a lot of this from face-to-face, 29% of hours is spent on administrative work. Or more, right, Prof? More. But in New Zealand, Australia and New Zealand, when they went into digital learning, they found that 70% of their planning time to make sure that the classes are delivered much more efficiently, they spend now 70% of their time doing the planning. So all of a sudden, your hours is still the same. But what you do with your hours now goes into much more constructive and productive work. Why are teachers spending 30% of their time doing administration work? Right? Teachers should be spending most of their time teaching, not doing admin. Do I get my agreement from you? But the professors all here are nodding their heads, okay? So, great job. But it's also new skills and competencies. Because now, a lecturer has to sit here in front of an empty hall and deliver a lecture and must be able to deliver the energy and enthusiasm like how he or she used to deliver when this hall was full. It's exhausting, by the way. It feels like you're talking to yourself, right? So new skills will also have to be developed by the lecturers in doing their same jobs. Again, as I said, it's either negative or positive. It's how you deal with this fact of life that will determine your future. The redefinition of work. Okay, so what is a work? A job is performed by an individual and reward of. This is the really technical term lah. This really technical term. And kalau dulu-dulu tu during my time, the time when dinosaurs ruled the earth, you masuk. Majority of us used to go and join a company. We sign a form, right? We become a full-time employee. That was the dream of our parents. And the ultimate dream is join the government because very stable work. Yeah? That was during that time. But in the future, as you all know, things that used to be task-based, office-based, limited, all this is gone. It's out of the window. Everything is outcome-based now. I really don't care how you get the job done as long as you get it done by the time I tell you to do it and at the amount that and the budget that I set to you. Kalau you jenis orang yang kata, okay, please tell me what to do next. Lepas tu buat apa? Itu I buat very well. But you have to tell me what to do. Those days are gone. You need to be focused on the outcome, not on the task. Okay, think about this. Mobility, anytime, anywhere, digital collaboration, and disruption. Even now, this Amir financial analyst, Fortune 500, actually this is also EPF, right? It is both matrix reporting. Just in case you don't know what matrix reporting is, it means you now report to multiple bosses and multiple bosses who have multiple outcomes. For example, I have one of my officers who's based out of London, real. doing investment. And dia punya investment ni different asset classes. Ada investment nak beli bangunan, ada investment nak beli saham, ada investment nak beli bonds, fixed income. I cannot afford to have 3 different officers there. So what I do is I have one investment officer who now has to go and cari bangunan, cari bonds, also ensure they're able to do proper trading of the markets in the global markets. So this poor one person have to go and telephone Miss A, who is head of real estate, kata, oh saya dah jumpa bangunan for you. At the same time, another phone call comes in. Equity pula, what do you think of the tech market? So now this one person based out of London reporting to 3 bosses in Kuala Lumpur at a time when the bosses are awake and she's supposed to be asleep, okay? But you know what, as bosses, we really don't care because our job is to go and dera you anyway, right? Because you're all junior, we will dera you nicely. So a young, 40 years old, see, very young still, kan? 40 because I'm 50. So this young person that you have to be used to this. If you think that you just report to one boss and you only have one thing to deliver every day, those days are gone. And tomorrow it can change again. Because remember the VUCA world, things change so fast. So the bosses kata, okay, saya tak nak beli hospital lagi. Saya nak beli bangunan office pula besok. Tapi boss, you just told me, well, we change because the market has changed. Get used to it, eh? And it's no longer desk-bound. I think you guys are quite used to it, lah. Yeah? But one of the main problems is not so much about you guys, it's actually your bosses, lah. Your bosses who come from the time of the dinosaurs says that you must be at your desk, then only you buat kerja. Kalau you dekat rumah, you tak buat kerja. Right? There's some mindset. So sometimes it's a clash of mindset also. So you have to get used to this. And the new worker. Okay, this is the very technical term. Okay, remember I mentioned the type of work, employment. Last time used to be all full-time work, right? And then it slowly evolved into part-time work. And then from part-time work, it started contract workers. And now freelancing. Freelancing means you no longer have any one boss. You are your own boss. All of this has positives and negatives, by the way. If you're a full-time work, you have job security, right? Most of the time, the chances of you losing your job, especially if you're working for a big organization, is relatively low. You get your benefits, you know you go in at 9 o'clock, you finish at 5 o'clock, you can balik rumah. That is the plus of being in a full-time job. But the minus of being a full-time job, which is a plus for a freelancer, you're not your own boss. Your boss tells you to do A, you buat A. You cuba pandai sangat, dia kata you jangan jadi pandai sangat, for example. Right? You make a 10 million ringgit contract, profit for the organization, but you still get paid only 10,000 ringgit a month. Because that's what you were contracted to do, right? Whereas if you're in freelancing, whatever you put in, that's what you take out. But you don't have security. A lot of people, COVID, got hit by this, remember? So all of a sudden, from being their own bosses, they had to retransform themselves. A lot of them became Grab drivers, for example, right? So every type of employment is valid, is relevant, but it must be relevant and valid to you. And you must go into it with your eyes open, understanding the pros and cons of each of it. And the decision that you make, you must own. Don't blame anybody else. You know, just say you decide to go into full-time and your parents are happily clapping. Tapi if you're unhappy because of doing full-time, you need to go own it yourself because it's your decision. Okay? And this is currently a snapshot. Currently, our job market is around 15.3 million workers in Malaysia. And you can see majority of people are in wholesalers and retailers. For those of you who like to do a lot of shopping, where do you now do shopping? Shopee, Lazada, right? And guess what? Which market is going to be most impacted? Will be there. So those 2.5 million workers, not just because of COVID, remember it is accelerated by COVID, all of a sudden people enjoy shopping through Lazada. That's what happened to me. Every day I was receiving packages. I was beli from, tak tahu lah, makanan kucing lah, to sayur lah, you know. But because I couldn't go out, I started buying online. And suddenly that is my new norm now. Nak pergi kedai tu, I don't really go to kedai nowadays. I rather go and buy on Lazada, Shopee. These people are going to be out of jobs. Right? Factory workers, remember I mentioned IR 4.0. Robots will be making it much more efficiently and much faster, right? Hotel workers, remember I was mentioning IR 4.0. If you think that is not applicable for hotel, I was just in Shenzhen. Was it 1.5 years ago? Alibaba has its own hotel, which is 95% robots. You masuk, there's not one human being inside. Okay? Already replaced by robots. And also COVID. COVID has basically impacted here. Restaurant workers. So you can see the job market is going to change very, very fast. Not in 5 years, it's already happening now. Yeah? So for those of you, again, you need to go into the job market with your eyes wide open. All right. So enough of depressing you. Okay, let's look at some tools for you to prepare for these facts of life and position yourself for success, inshallah. Okay, so what do you need to be? The first thing that I can advise you for those of you who are just about to graduate, don't be defined by your degree. As Prof was mentioned, I had a degree in law. But actually, even when I was second year in law, I already knew I didn't want to be a lawyer. But I wanted to have the discipline of being a lawyer. Because being a lawyer taught me how to think like a lawyer. A lawyer is very outcome-based. It's about winning the case, right? You win the case and then you work your way backwards in order to position your argument, in order to lead towards that outcome so that I can win the case. Betul? It's thinking like a lawyer. And with that thinking, it actually prepared me in my role as a strategist. Because my career path became corporate planning. So my skills as a legally trained lawyer served me very well in my future work. If I was defined by my degree, I would still be a lawyer now and I'll be depressed like heck. Okay, COVID would have made me go and jump off a very tall building. Okay. But I would refuse to be defined by my degree. And I hope you guys also don't be defined by your degree. Just because you have an accounting degree doesn't mean you have to be an accountant. You can take the discipline and the techniques of accountancy for you to apply in your life career. Yeah? So this is 126 registered participants, I think as of this morning or something like, where's my team member? Anyway, this is you guys, by the way. And we can see here, 35% of you are actually in business and accountancy. Exactly the roles that I was telling that is going to be facing the most challenges in the future, right? So you guys need to rethink, okay? You need to go and rethink on how you're going to reinvent yourself to make yourself relevant for the future in the job market. If you come to me, having a degree of accountancy, by the way, I do job interviews. That degree is just enough for you to open the door only to see me as a HR person. But after that, your degree, I really don't care. Because for every first class, there's another 10 first class out there. It's just to open the door, but it doesn't guarantee you a job. Okay? 30% of you guys are in the sciences. Hopefully, you are in the sciences that the job market wants, yeah. So not that some of the roles that might not be relevant for the job, but at least this one is a bit more solid. Economics and admin, I'm not quite sure. What is the admin punya part? Sorry, I apologize there. Yeah. So arts and social sciences also. It is also relevant if you know how to position yourself. All right. But this is a snapshot. 95% of you are in third years and final years. Again, as I mentioned, don't be so depressed because you have time and age on your side. This is the time for you to make mistakes, okay? Because by the time you are in your 40s and you make mistakes, people will not be as forgiving. While you are young, you make mistakes, apa, you ni muda lagi, tak apa, as long as you learn from it. But if you're in your 40s and in your late 40s or even late 30s, you keep on making mistakes, sorry, you're not going to go far. Okay, so youth is your advantage. Make full use of it. Again, as I said, your degree doesn't define you. You define yourself. Okay? You define yourself by understanding what are your strengths, your weaknesses, and how to go and position yourself accordingly. Yeah? And at the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can either see it as a negative or you can see it as a positive. So, how do you get prepared? Remember, I said your degree will only allow you to open the door for you to talk to me. But I will hire you because of your competencies and your mindset. I will hire you because you are the type of person I want to be able to work with. Especially your direct bosses who will be spending more time with you than your spouses, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your significant others, right? He or she will want to have a pleasant, a good, a rewarding time with you, right? You might be the smartest person on earth, but if you really don't know how to have interpersonal skills, you're not going to get hired. Simple as that, unless you are so terra-mera, okay? But very unlikely, you know, majority of us are not that terra-mera, okay? So, what are the skills that will make you stand out? These are the type of thinking, intelligence skills that you need to have nowadays. Remember, I don't put there, you need to be an accountant, you need to be a lawyer or whatever. I didn't say that. These are what you need to have at you internally. And you can develop this. You need to have emotional intelligence. Remember, I mentioned, you might be the smartest person on earth, but if you are so unpleasant to work with, or how you have got your success is by sabotaging others all the time, right? You don't want to go and lend people your study notes lah, or you know, you cocok your teachers against your fellow students lah, or whatever. It's not going to get you far. Because your boss might not see it, but your co-workers will see it, and your co-workers can also make life hell for you, and make life hell for your boss. You need to have communication skills. Because again, sometimes I have come across very, very, very smart people. Tapi when you ask them to explain their thinking behind it, dia tergagap. So you can, if it's all your smart ideas are stuck inside here and you cannot communicate out there, it will not go anywhere. And I'm talking to you purposely in English also. Bukan sebab saya tak tahu bercakap dalam bahasa Malaysia, ya. Tapi saya selalu bercakap kepada orang-orang dekat EPF. Saya kata, kamu ni nak jadi jago kampung ke? Kamu ni nak jadi jago dunia? I have officers who are smart, brain should be top of the class in the world. Unfortunately, and I told this to my officer, I cannot put you on a global stage because you cannot talk English. Dekat Malaysia ni baguslah. Orang dapat dengar, orang dapat faham. Tapi saya tak dapat put you in front of international audience. You cannot now become globally relevant because you cannot communicate your ideas out there, right? So it's not about us not being proud of our culture and our heritage, but it's about us being relevant for the global market, okay? Communication. And now it will be Mandarin, of course. We need to also understand Mandarin, of course. Unfortunately, not do good. Analytical thinking. As I said, Dr. Google ke, Mr. Google or whatever, information is out there. We are living in an information overload. There is so much information out there. But what will make you stand out from everybody else is the ability for you to analyze all of that information and put it together into something that makes sense and that gives knowledge, right? Because the internet is the great equalizer. Semua orang sekarang dah pandai. You don't need to be that clever. During my time, pada masa dulu bila saya dekat sekolah, it was all about how much you can remember, right? It was all about memorization. Nak jadi hafiz lah kan. But nowadays, you don't need to memorize anymore because in a second, I can just like use my thumb and I can find anything that I want in the world. But it's how I translate that into things of value to my employer or to my client or to my buyers. You need to have that. Analysis. And kadang-kadang orang-orang saya dekat EPF pun, they have a lot of information, tapi diorang tak ada analysis. Okay? Data literacy. Okay, yang ni, yang muda-muda, you have the advantage to the yang tua sikit lah. tua sikit yang tua sikit So you understand all the data, understanding how to do data mining lah and whatever not. Or even if you don't know how to do it, you have access to the tools to do it. Okay? For the older people, kita punya data literacy is call it up, pick up a phone and call, hey, can you find out for me? That's our data literacy. But you guys have the advantage again. So make full use of this. And lastly, it's about problem solving. The one thing that bosses hate, in my office, I actually have a sign. I charge $5 for complaints. Because orang yang datang, dia orang datang kasih complain aja. Saya ni kan, dia tak buat kerja macam itu lah. Saya rasa tak suka hati dengan dia orang. I'm not here to go and solve your problems. Like, you are here to solve my problem, actually. I don't mind if you come with constructive comments. You can actually say, hey, you know what? We're having a problem here, but this is a potential solution. Boss, maybe this is the way for us to do it. Offer solutions. Don't keep on going and seeing your boss complaining all the time. Right? It's okay for you to say things are not working right, but offer at least 2 other options to make it better. Then all of a sudden, that's why you deserve your promotion and you deserve your bonus. A lot of people cakap, saya patutnya dapat bonus lebih daripada dia sebab saya dalam kerja ni 5 tahun lebih lama dari dia tau. And I'm like going, okay, that means you've just wasted 5 years of your life, 5 years of my life, because you haven't improved. Orang ni yang lagi muda yang baru masuk, they brought me solutions, right? Not problems. Okay, so this is another thing that you need to start developing. And mindset. You need to have this mindset, a disciplined mind. Saya juga dalam seni, I deal with a lot of theatre people, a lot of talented people. In fact, Malaysians, we have a lot of talents. The reason why we don't go to the next level is because we don't have discipline. Bila kita ada rehearsal kita cakap start pukul 2. Pukul 2 itulah barunya orang dah mula masuk. Okay? Overseas, when you say rehearsals, 2 o'clock is when you are already out here rehearsing. Warm up semua dah buat tau. Bila kita cakap rehearsal pukul 2, masa tu dia starting to do warm up at 2 o'clock. Dia kata, oh, that's my work. I'm sorry. In the new world, you need to be disciplined enough that when I say 2, it means 2 o'clock we start. Not 5 minutes after. Okay? Discipline. You need to have a synthesizing mind, analysis. Remember I mentioned to you earlier, you need to be able to analyze information. You need to be able to have a creative mind. Kadang-kadang, not all answers are in the books. You need to be able to think out of the box to find solutions to problems. So, some people always cakap pasal orang Malaysia ni kan. Orang Malaysia, we are one of the most creative people in the world. You want to know why? Because things don't work in Malaysia. It is not efficient like Singapore. In Singapore, you don't need to think. Things are done for you. In Malaysia, you know, our existing processes are not as great as or established that we have to find our own solutions. And that's why we are so creative. We jump out of the book to find solutions, because dekat Singapore tu, kalau ada kereta blocking the road, you know, they will just call up the whichever agency and just say, oh, ada apa, and it will be done for them. Tak payah fikir. In Malaysia, it's faster for you to do it yourself, right? So, creativity is very, very important, because problems in this world is not going to come up from the book. Remember I mentioned to you VUCA? Who would ever think COVID-19, a little tiny bug that nobody can see, would have a huge impact? Nobody thought about that. But in Malaysia, we came out of it very well because we were very creative. We looked at the problems and we went around to find solutions to it. Okay? Creativity is very, very important because problems are not anticipated. Problems don't come out in books. Because sekarang ni, when you're in university, there's a problem, you fix it out, and then you pergi ke belakang ke, and then you can find the answer. I don't know, is that how they do it nowadays? In my days, that's how it is. Like, you know, they had a question, so you fill out, and then kat belakang tu ada answers. And now I don't know, but you know, Life doesn't have answers as easy as that. Huh? You have to create your own answers. You have to have a respectful mind. Yeah, you have to be able to understand that there are differences in life, and you might not agree with it, but you have to be able to respect it, because then you are able to go and put yourself in different contexts. Your mind becomes agile. Kalau itu you membeku aja, you say ini adalah air dan itu sajalah air. For example lah, okay, I don't know how to explain that, but not everything in life is as black and white as this. But you need to be able to be respectful of the other people's thinkings and the other people's pendirian, right? You don't need to agree, but you should respect it. The worst word that I really hate is when people say, you know, Malaysia ni adalah satu budaya toleransi. Tolerance. You tell me, what is the word in tolerance? Tolerance apa? I tolerate your behavior. Normally when you say that, actually I don't like that behavior, I'm very angry with you, tapi saya put up with it, tapi kalau boleh I tempeling you. That's tolerance, by the way. Respectful in the way is sort of like say, okay, I get where you're coming from. I don't agree, but I get it. It's okay. We agree to disagree, right? We agree to disagree. Ethical mind. I think the reason of why we have a pilot up there, because the pilot has a very huge responsibility to bring that all his or her passengers safely at the end of the journey. Okay? You need to have an ethical mind. Ethics determines on how you do things. Okay, not what you do. So katalah kalau saya boss, saya kata, you as a salesperson, I want 20 million ringgit by the end of the year in terms of sales. You can do it ethically, meaning you become the best salesperson that you can be. You jual it properly, you're able to go and use different platforms, you work very hard, you know, and you always deliver quality. Or you can do it, for example, I sabo my kawan here, I curi dia punya sales, for example, right? I still achieved the outcome of 20 million ringgit sales, but the way I did it was not ethical. By the way also, which I hope you young people nowadays, from an integrity perspective also, keeping quiet when you know it is wrong is also not ethical, okay? Because when you keep quiet, you actually allow things to happen. That's why in my meeting rooms, I do not like people who don't speak up. Some people actually like it because they like to hear the sound of their own voice, right? And they like to think that they are always right. But I always believe the best solutions always come from a group, because you can see different ways of thinking, right? Being respectful. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting proposition, but we think it differently, right? So the good news is this is a very easy way for you to look at. The bad news is that you need all of these types for you to be successful in the future, okay? But I won't say that you need to have all of this 100% lah. Like for me, for example, right? I am very strong in creativity and synthesizing, for example. That is my strength. Discipline too is very difficult for me, for example, because especially, you know, I'm not a morning person, lah, by the way, you know, but there are certain areas that I'm stronger in rather than in others. But I need to have all of it in my way of doing things moving forward, okay? Values. Values is your nilai murni. What makes you you? Universal values that will ensure that you are successful in life is humility. Okay, bukan segan ya, bukan malu ya. It's about humility. It's different. Kadang-kadang saya cakap dengan orang, dia kata, saya malu lah nak buat ni, tak nak lah, tak apalah, malu lah. Why? What are you so malu about? It is about not being arrogant. Don't be arrogant. But you must put yourself out there with humility. Okay? With humility means you don't know all the answers, but you share what you know. That is with humility. You are persistent, because in life, as I said, things are not going to be easy. There will be so many obstacles in life. Again, the cliche is, dia kata, it's not so much about you being knocked down, it's about how you get up that will determine you. That is a values that will ensure you are successful. Don't let any negativity define your future success. Okay, you made a mistake, fine. Learn from it, move on. Okay? Taking ownership, this is another thing. I hate it when people always say, well, ni, saya tak dapat ni sebab tu, Kak Timah tak buat betul macam tu. Sorry, if it's a teamwork, you take ownership over it. And you say, okay, we did not achieve this because we did not do this. This is what we will do in the future to ensure it doesn't happen again. Take ownership. Especially nowadays when I read a lot of Twitter and all that, there's a lot of blame going around, right? People don't want to go and say, okay, fine, this went wrong. So what do we do about it? And this is what I can do something about it. Okay, take ownership. Social enterprise values. So these are some of the values that everybody must have, yeah, in order for you to be successful in life. But in work, there are two types. There are public sector work, and there's also private sector work. In my early days, I started my career in the private sector, and I wasn't very happy because I didn't understand. My values is much more as social enterprise values. It's about people. It's about impact in making difference in people's life. It's not so much about money, 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 money. Making money is not wrong, by the way, but it's just not my value system. And my value system was always about innovation. Innovation, by the way, it's always looking at a problem. There's a lot of problem, and then you make things better out of it. And for me, especially, Malaysia, we need a lot of help. We need a lot of help to make Malaysia a better place. And I was like I get so excited to be in a public sector because I can make so much changes for the better for Malaysians. And profit with purpose. At the end of the day, there must be a reason of why we do things. The reason that will create a better world for all of us. If that is your values, go for public sector enterprises, macam EPF, macam Khazanah, for example, for Mercy Malaysia, for example. It won't pay you much, okay? It won't pay you much, but it will pay you in other ways. Satisfaction of doing a job well done. But, ini tersalah ya, by the way, it's not for workplace, but for profit-oriented, yeah? If it is all about money for you, you love making money, right? And it's all about maximizing profit. So kalau profit tu, a lot of revenue and low cost, right? If you like those sort of things, and it's always about growth, 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 then maybe the private sector is for you, if that is your value system. So, neither one is right and neither one is wrong. Okay? What I'm trying to get through to you guys is that understand yourself, understand your values, so that you can make the right choices. Don't make the mistake that I did, because when I was growing up, when I was young, the definition of success was about being a Fortune 500 CEO, being able to drive your fast cars, being able to fly in private jets. That was the world that I grew in the 1980s. Yeah, there was a movie called Wall Street, right? And there was a famous saying. What was it? The profit, greed is good, or something like that, right? It was all about money and big shoulder pads. Okay, but nowadays it's different values, and you guys have a choice now. Public sector is just as good as the private sector, okay? Okay, word of advice lah. For you about to go into the job market, on the left-hand side, you think everything is wonderful. You know, you think that, the CEO ni pandai betul. The organization is so solid. When I go in, I will automatically be happy. Because values and work-life balance, they respect it. You know, clear scope and career goals. I masuk aja, guaranteed in 10 years' time, I will be somebody. And also, full of technology. In reality, when you join the job market, this is going to be no work-life balance. Because again, bosses, at least the evil bosses lah, in their mind is all about mendera orang-orang yang baru masuk ni. Not so much that also lah, but work, especially now work from home. Kalau masa dulu tu, you can close your bag, you masuk kereta, you balik rumah, okay, I'm done. Nowadays, During COVID especially, people were having meetings at 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock in the morning. Because all you need to do was just open your computer or put your device and you're in a meeting, right? So some bosses didn't understand the difference between work and life. That is reality. Uncertainty. HR does not know what your future career is going to be. Nobody knows it. If you don't know what you want to be, then you are going to be in real trouble. Because bosses are not mind readers. On top of that, like for me, for example, I have 6,000 people in EPF. I don't have the time to go and spend with 6,000 people to go and say, yes, in 20 years' time, this is what you're going to be. I don't have time for it. You need to be very clear of what your life choices are going to be. Life is going to be super uncertain and lack of digital enablement. Not all companies, other than if you're going to join Facebook, Google, Instagram, are going to be even Wi-Fi enabled. In fact, technology security is even so tight, nowadays, if you are given a company laptop, USB is disabled, right? USB is disabled because of privacy and security concerns. When you go in, we are still using Microsoft, my God, is it what, 2006, 2008, 2018, something like that. You will not get the latest OS, by the way, because companies is not going to be spending that kind of money unless you're in the tech company, okay? So technology is not going to be the norm. What you're used to now is not going to be the norm, especially if you're dealing with dinosaur bosses who don't even use emails, okay? So good luck to you. You have to understand this, so your expectations when you go into the job market, you are not depressed. Okay? That's the whole point of me sharing this with you. Manage your expectations. Be realistic. Okay? So some tools for you. Remember I said that you need to understand yourself in order for you to be successful. Very quickly, you need to understand what you are, who you are, and most importantly, why you are. Why were you put on this world? It's very simple. When you are doing something that follows the course of the reason that you were created on this world, you will be very happy, irrespective of how much money you are earning. And that is the greatest reward that you will get, actually. And this is the most difficult to find, actually, okay? Especially when you are young. A lot of people, even my age, in their 60s or even 70s, still don't know the why of why they exist. It's very simple. The what ni is very macam I'm male, I'm Muslim, I'm Malay with Chinese blood, I have a degree in law, I have a master's from an MBA, Cornell, I'm a CEO. Very simple. Ni, this is it. This is the what. And if you want to equate it in apps lah, nak senang, normally when you look at macam Twitter or you look at Instagram, it only shows the peripheral, right? It's just on the outside. If you're looking for dating lah, you go for Tumblr lah, right? Left, right, swipe, right? You just look at the outside. If you want a date, that's all you care about. If you want a relationship that you don't invest in. Normally then you want to say, oh, I might want to go and spend a bit more time with this person. All right? Then you want to start to get to know who is this person. Eh? So when I ask you, who are you really? Eh? Oh, actually, as what I mentioned just now, I'm not a morning person. I'm more a night person. In my weekends, I like to go hiking. Broga Hills especially. I like spicy food, you know. And then, you know, my parents, sometimes they got so much, they want me to become a doctor, but actually I don't want to be a doctor. I want to become a dancer, for example. Okay? That is the who. That is the second layer. Then you sort of like start to understand what your passion is. You know, when you want to talk about passion and all that, that is really more the who you are. Okay. I didn't have time. I have no idea what these two apps are. Can anybody help me? What is that? I have no idea what that is. Okay. Oh boy, I used to think that I was quite hip and happening lah. Okay. But this one lah, in my world lah, it's a bit macam Facebook lah. Okay. So now you have gone through Instagram and you've gone through Twitter. You want to get to know more about this person. I'm going to use the analogy of Facebook, so please bear with me. You pergilah tengok orang ni punya Facebook. You tengok, oh, dia ada kucing, cantik kucing dia. Dia suka masak. Ui, cantiknya dia buat kek dia. You get what I mean or not? So for some ladies especially, I think that's what you do, right? Before you go on a date, if I'm not mistaken. Firstly, you check out in terms of the person's punya Facebook pula. Oh, I want to spend more time. But is that enough? Because you need to understand the why of the person. The reason why I'm raising this up is, if you want to be successful in your career, you need to understand this. Your degree will get you into the door, and your degree is only your first layer. A lot of people think their degree defines them. Remember, I said your degree doesn't define you. Your degree is not your why you exist. And then this will balance out in terms of making it why you like to go to work. Because I have now enough money, I can go traveling. But I really hate my job. I hate my job, but my job pays me that I have no choice but to do it. I have a few friends of mine, very successful CEO running HR punya firms, you know, HR consulting firms. Actually, orang putih, based out of Malaysia. You know what? He comes to me and he says, you know what, can you please, I want to go and do some work in your theatre company. I own a theatre company, by the way, you know. Tak apalah, I can become a stagehand and all that because I'm not happy. I make a lot of money, but I'm not happy. This is what is going to go and define your happiness, the why. Because when you are aligned with your purpose in life, you will suddenly become, you know the reason of why you were created. And life will become so much better. And that's why there's a lot of question marks here. I cannot answer the why for you. In fact, I think for most of you also, you don't really understand the why. Maybe I can help you. And how I can help you is by a series of technical problems. Okay, go back one. So, young people always like to go and say, be guided by your passion. Betul tak? Your passion will define you and will ensure. No, your passion is not going to do that. Your passion will only get you for the day. But your purpose will get you through the year. Because your passion will get you excited, will make you happy for that time period. But when things get tough, that's when you start questioning your passion. You must go beyond passion and you must go into purpose, the reason of why you are created. Right? So one thing that you need to go and define with yourself is you need to do something that you love doing. Right? That's the core of it. If you don't like doing what you're doing, you're never going to be happy. When I was in the private sector, I was good at what I did, but I just hated the fact that my only definition of success was how much I can sell this product to people, even if they don't need it. I was in DG telecommunications, for example, right? It was all about sell the SIM card and sell the apps. Even if they don't need it, sell it to them. Jual. Right? Yes, we made money. We sold lots of apps. We sold lots of SIM cards. But I wasn't happy because making money was not everything that defined me. So I didn't love what I was doing. But to a certain extent, right, I love the creative element of working in DG because I had to come up with a lot of solutions to the objectives of what my boss wanted, right? So the process of it I love, but I hated I didn't like the industry, for example. I didn't like the fact that it was all about money. It was all about money. So the second thing that you need to ask yourself, even if you found like, I love doing this, I love singing. You know, in the bathroom, I'll be singing. Tapi when I sing, the cat starts to run away, the dog starts to howl because I'm really not good at it. Okay? You need to identify what you love is something that you're good at. If what you love is something that you're not good at, nobody wants to go and take your skill, right? nobody will want to go and really understand what you are doing. That's the second component that you must ask yourself if you want to do something. The third component that you must ask at the end of the day, the things that you love and the things that you're good at doing, are people really willing to pay for it or not? Remember I said I'm in the performing arts, right? And performing arts, if you love money, please don't do it. Okay? Because you are not going to go and get money from it. Okay? So I have a lot of friends who are in the performing industry who really finds it so difficult to go and pay their rent at the end of the day. And the headache now becomes not in doing what they love, but in just searching for money in order for them to do that. So you need to be able to go and meet up these three. And the last component that will guarantee you happiness and success is you should do something that the world needs. You need to ask yourself, does the world need another lawyer at the end of the day? Does the world need another accountant at the end of the day? Does the world need somebody to join EPF to make life better for 15 million members? Yes, we need that. Because if we get things right for EPF, we will get things right for Malaysia. Statistically speaking, my number of members is 50% of the population of Malaysia. For those of you who haven't started working, you won't see the importance of EPF, but you will, okay? Do your research and you will understand. That's the reason why I am in love with my job. I love what I do because I make a difference for Malaysians. I am, at least I think I'm good at what I'm doing, okay? At least I think I'm good at it. I get paid for it. I don't get paid top dollar. I'm definitely, the salary that I make is what the salary of some senior managers make in some other bigger organizations, right? Private sector organizations. But it doesn't matter to me because I have enough for me to be able to go home to sleep and buy food and buy my clothes, right? Money is not everything, but I get paid for it. And lastly, I know that the work that I do is needed for this world. I am blessed and I'm lucky because I have achieved this tiny little word that you see here, which is called Ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese word that actually means the reason why I get out of bed in the morning. And why I get out, when I get out of bed every morning, even though it might be a lot of work, but I get out of bed excited. And I hope and I wish that you will also achieve Ikigai in your life. Don't be depressed if you don't find it by tomorrow, by the way. It's a process. And some of the things that you can help, you can go to some of these websites, by the way, yeah, to help yourself. So the first part this one here, is going to give you the percentage of chances your job is going to be taken over by a robot. This one will start to identify your strengths. Remember I was mentioning just now, what are your strengths? Your type of thinking, your skills, your intelligences. And this is Ikigai. So try and use these tools in order for you to understand the why you exist. In your stage of your life, you can already start to identify your what and your who. But the most important part is identifying the why you exist. And the key takeaway, the world is VUCA. You also need to be VUCA. You need to have, for the volatility, you need to have vision. For the uncertainty, you need to have understanding. For the complexity, you need to have compassion. You need to have heart in whatever you do. Yeah? And for the A, you need to have agility and adaptability. Because things will change so fast, you need to be able to change just as fast. Okay, this one should not be, this should be find and follow your purpose in life. Okay? Continue to learn things and differentiate yourself from others. Don't think just because I'm the CEO of the largest organization in terms of asset size in Malaysia, I know it all. I don't. I'm continually learning from my fellow colleagues, from my sister organizations, from you. Always Never think that your cup is full. Your cup is always half full, okay? And lastly also, make the world a better place by making yourself a better person. And with that, I really wish you the greatest of success moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Yang Mulia. I'll join you back on stage for a few minutes.
Sure.
Wow, you know, I wish I was young again.
We are always
and
young.
I really need to find my, was it
Ikigai.
Ikigai. I hope it's not too late.
It's never too late.
Yeah. So thank you very much. That was incredible. But we have a lot of students out there watching this, and I think there's some questions.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to let the students ask the questions, or the audience in the hall today ask the questions. So do we have?
How do we do this?
Do we have something on Slido? Oh, the chat room. Can we see the chat room?
Or can you read it or something? Yeah?
Okay.
Why don't you read it?
So Dr. Bong will read some of the questions.
Okay, the first question is, how to put forth new ideas to a supervisor, sorry for lecturers here, who is quite close and traditional-minded and not open to new ideas or changes?
Oh boy, you know, it's not just lecturers, right? This is life, okay? The first thing is you really need to go and understand your audience. You must understand your audience. The advantage that I have coming from a performing arts passion is that I need to understand the audience out there in order for me to deliver my story. If your audience is very analytical in nature, if your boss is very analytical in nature, don't talk about passions and feelings and emotions, okay? If it is all about dollars and cents, you must translate that problem into dollars and cents. If you know your boss is the type who is much more about making an impact in this world, translate your challenges and your solutions into a language that he or she understands. That's the first thing, yeah? Speak the language that your audience understands. The second thing is, always offer something that they want. Remember I said, I hate it when my people come to see me with problems, right? Expecting me to come up with answers. So when you see your bosses or you see somebody that you want to convince, you actually think about what is it they actually want. And position your problem into that the solution that you will actually get will actually meet the things that they also want. Okay, I'm not sure whether, is that clear enough for these people? So at the end of the day, as I said, it's about understanding whoever is sitting on the other side, right? Remember when I said about the new VUCA? C, compassion. Compassion is understanding that your worldview is not the only worldview in this world. Remember respect, I said. It's about respect. Being able to respect this other person's punya position. You don't necessarily agree, but you can respect it. Okay? This was the second lesson I really learned from Datuk Sharil, the previous CEO of EPF. Because in EPF, we have to deal with so many people. We have to deal with the government, we have to deal with the unions, we have to deal with the workers, we have to go and deal with our members and employers. So many people that we are dealing with, right? And so many problems. So we need to understand workers' punya challenges are very different from the government's punya problem. So when you see the government, you must talk to them in terms of public good. When you see a politician, right? I don't talk about public good. So for example, macam social security, ya. Bila saya berjumpa dengan kementerian, saya kata ini akan membuat pembangunan negara. Ia akan meningkatkan GDP sebanyak 1%, for example. Because that's what MOF wants to hear. But if I were to go and meet a minister, for example, who is a politician at the end of the day, I can actually say, if you actually do the social security program, you will make people very happy. And when people are happy, they will definitely vote for you. Right? Same problem, same solution, but different way of conveying it. That is what you guys must understand. Okay? Next question. Is that next question, Prof? Yeah?
Wonderful.
Okay, we have another one who has a question here. As we say that jobs will be replaced by technology, we should fear this situation because if we are unemployed, we will lose the income to sustain our life. So how it is possible that we replace the current monetary system with something else so that we don't have to fear the threat of technology which will bring on unemployment terms?
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Fear is such a useless feeling for me, to tell you the truth, because it's either fight or flight, right? At the end of the day, you must be able to accept the facts of life, as what I had mentioned to you. Don't fear technology. If you fear technology, you will never engage with it, and you will never use it for what it should be, which is a tool at the end of the day. You must be able to pivot. The word is pivot. What's the pivot in Malay? Because I can't find a translation for pivot. Pivot is, okay, macam benda ni. This is a pivot, by the way. Can you see this thing turns around? It's able to turn, but it doesn't fall. You faham tak? Dia solid, tapi dia boleh pivot. Similarly, like companies and individuals, you must be able to pivot when things go wrong. One example that I can give you, there was one company in China recently, in the beauty business. Dia menjual barang-barang soleh, macam, what's his name? Alif Shukri.
Okay.
Right? Alif Shukri kan? Alif Shukri lah, Vida lah and what not. Dia jual kan? Tapi bila COVID berlaku, macam mana you nak jual through the counter? You can't sell. They pivoted. So they went from here to here. How did they pivot? The money that they use for marketing, they put into their sales girls who used to be at the counter. They became beauty influencers. So each sales girl started their own channel, influencer channel, using the products of the company, and the company gave them the money and the training for them to become social media influencers. Guess what? During COVID, this company in China, their revenue went up by 3 times. If you fear technology and if you still want to stay in the old world of jual makeup over the counter, you'll be dead. If you embrace technology and actually use it as a tool, you will prosper. Okay? That's my advice to you. So, it's not the job and the responsibility of anybody to give you a job. That's your responsibility to make yourself relevant for a job. Okay? Take accountability for your success or failures.
So I just want to inject here. So that brings the pivoting and all that. That's what everybody talks about it as an entrepreneurial mindset, right? And with 2.5 million jobs going to go this year, there's a lot of talk about, students should now be entrepreneurs, should create their own jobs. But is this a reality?
This is a reality.
Is it a reality?
This is a real reality. And again, at the end of the day, this is something whenever I go and see the government, the role of the government is to provide the environment that will allow people to find jobs. But it is not to go and identify the jobs for them and then just say, here, do this. Okay? It's really your choice at the end of the day. I mean, we read some inspiring stories, right, of this, which came out in the newspapers a few weeks ago. Remember this physical instructor, for example? Dia tak malu. Dia kata saya kena kerja. So he started working in the market. And he was willing to do it because he said, you know what, as long as it is halal, it is real kerja, and it is able to bring me money at the end of the day. So it's really up to us on what we want to take out of this, yeah? We can either take it as a negative or we can reinvent ourselves to become the positive. Yeah?
That's right. Maybe one final question from the YouTube panel.
And can we open one up for the audience also? Yeah?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so the last questions. You've mentioned that public sectors don't get paid as well as in private sectors, but is it wrong to fight for a higher minimum wage as it hasn't changed drastically for decades?
No. Okay, minimum wage and civil sector are two different things, by the way. Minimum wage, well, okay, let's put it this way. The growth of salaries in Malaysia is not in tandem with the growth, the economic growth of the country. Okay? Rightly or wrongly, we went through an economic model which was about the low-cost punya model. And we, we had talked about the middle income punya trap. And if we don't do something about it, we will fall within that middle income trap. So we need to go and, again, reinvent ourselves to go into higher value type of jobs. Remember, I showed to you in terms of the jobs and landscape in Malaysia, which is 2.3 or 2.5 million in the retail sector, right? We need to go and upgrade ourselves into the jobs that is going to be relevant in the future. So that's the type of jobs that people will be willing to pay for. You cannot expect companies to go and pay the price of an AI engineer to a person who's just doing repetitive work, for example, right? It's not apple to apple. So in terms of minimum wage, I think we need to go and ensure that we have minimum salary for people to have a dignified life. I'm not saying that we need to go and make sure that everybody needs to go and be paid 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever, but we need to enable people to have their basic social needs met. This is going to be another 1-hour lecture, but social security, very quickly, if you want to say, it is shelter. Everybody needs shelter. Everybody needs health. Everybody needs income security. That means you have money, basic money. You need to go and have nutritious food. You need to go and have education, and education is not just limited to the kids. It's also adult education. So we can also see the digital divide between the haves and the have-nots, so education. And you need to have the right to mobility also. So we need to go and ensure that all Malaysians have access to this, and then we can talk about the income level. Yeah? Civil service on another sector, I think I'm not going to go there.
Okay,
That's
another day.
That will be another day to talk about.
So let's open the floor to a question from the hall. Anybody?
By the way, while we're going to again get EPF has actually come up with a publication called Belanjawanku, which is actually in collaboration with University of Malaya. Right. First of its kind in Southeast Asia, by the way, which will actually determine what is the right salary structure a person should have in Klang Valley. I really strongly suggest for you to go and have a look at that. If you want to talk about salary, just have a look at that.
You have a question?
Okay, my question is, how many percentage of EPF workforce will be automated in the next
few years or so?
Yes.
Thank you so much for your answer. Very interesting question. You know why? Because a few years ago, I actually did the same presentation about this gig work to EPF, and I told my people, by the way, 80% of them are really in the transactional punya nature, meaning the counter work, chop the forms and all that. And now we are going on digital and mobile. Why do I need to go and have people seated at the counter doing chop? And I told them upfront, I kata, if you don't transform, which we are providing all the facilities into another sort of work, you will be irrelevant. Okay, this was a few years ago when we had a chat. And I'm the type, I don't mince words. I'm very upfront. And I said the way for us to move forward is no longer transactional, bukannya chop borang lagi. It is about advisory. Advisory meaning now people can come to see me individually, and then I can advise them, say, this is how much you should have for your retirement. This is how much you should actually be spending for your budget. This is how much, and this is how you should prepare for your future. we started out with only 5 people doing the transformation from the desk job to an advisory job. That was around 4 or 5 years ago, right, when we first started. Now, the retirement advisory services is the biggest thing in EPF. Everybody is translating their job scope, upskilling and retraining themselves into advisory, because that's one area that cannot be taken away from by a computer. People, when it comes to money, it's just like your own health, you know. It's very, very sensitive. We have had people coming here, dia kata, saya tak cukup duit sampai saya nak bunuh diri. Seriously, I'm not joking. They are even, so my people are now taking on the role of even counselors. If you want, machines cannot handle that, because machines, you keluar, tough luck, you are going to be moveless in 3 years' time. You need to be able to have the human touch. So you want to ask in terms of percentages, I would actually say, like when I mentioned, 80% of my people was from counter services. They were at the highest risk of being changed by computers. But we saw this 5 years ago. And we put training for them to become certified financial consultants. So in the old word, they will say, oh, mereka ni adalah anggota bukan eksekutif, non-executives. Dia orang boleh buat clerical work saja. Dia orang buat, buat filing saja. I never believe. And you ask why my title is no longer Chief Executive Officer. Because I am not the Chief Officer of only executives. I am the Chief Officer of all of my people, executives and non-executives. That's why my title is Chief EPF Officer. Okay? I do not like to define people by that executive, non-executive role. So majority of my retirement advisors are actually non-executives, by the way. The people that, the senior, in the olden days might actually just say, alah, they never will become officer ni. They are non-executive. I never believe in that. Yeah. And the great thing is, when they have this certificate, even when they retire, they can take this after they leave EPF. Yeah. So it's about understanding the problem, confronting it, don't get frightened by it, right? Computers taking over your job, whoa, no. It's about, yes, computers will take over your job. I've got training for you, and I will have a job for you when you train yourself. But I cannot force you to go for the training. You have to force yourself, okay? And some of them, they are in their 40s, some of them dah in their 50s. Dia orang kata, apalah saya tak pernah buat financial advisory. Now you want me to go and learn again? But you know what? Majority of my people have transformed themselves. So if these people in their 40s and 50s can transform it themselves, I don't see why you guys who are in your 3rd year and 4th year, and if you see yourself in trouble, by all the statistics I show, you have no excuse to transform yourself into success. Okay?
Fantastic. So the institution also must be very
agile.
Very agile. And I think it's something we can learn also. The university is also trying to transform. I got my board members here today. So something that we are trying to do as well. I'm not sure whether we have any more time. Dr. Bong, we're kind of running out of our
do we have time or do we have no time?
No more time.
I can stay here the whole day, I know.
We're going to have Zachary here with us at least for 20 more hours.
Yeah.
That's our expectation. Well, it's our
I shouldn't
hope.
have spoken too soon, right?
It's our hope anyway. But you just opened really many things more that we want to ask you and to talk to you about. And so we're looking forward to having a lot more sessions like this, and in fact more smaller sessions and even some discussion groups. And students will be back by late this year,
Hopefully I can see them in person.
And we can fill up. Right now we have a very perfectly socially distanced audience. I think very impressive. Just for information of others, we have about 150 students online on our YouTube channel. Most of whom are in year 3 or in their final year, and they were the target group for today's talk. And I think really it's advice well given, and I hope it's well taken. And we really hope for all of your feedback as well. And I'm sure, if we get feedback, we can also pass it on. to you, because I think there's a lot more questions that the online audiences are going to be asking.
Absolutely.
So on that note, maybe we'll have to stop here for today.
So
And
I'll wave goodbye to everybody.
bye-bye to everybody out there. So thank you so much for being with us today. Terima kasih. Done. Yeah. We're done. Also to thank everybody who made it here today. It makes a difference, as you said, to have an audience here with us today. We look forward to the normal, new or what, the normal. But I think we'll keep this hybrid model, because we can reach out to a lot more people by having people here, and as well as people at home joining us. And I think it should be the new normal for university, because we really can reach a lot more and share a lot more. Oh, okay. So to make sure that you're part of us, we're giving you something that will make you feel at home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a UM t-shirt, which we'll expect you to wear the next time you come here. Thank you very much. Join me again to thank Yang Mulia Tengku Ali Zakri for his very enlightening and helpful talk for our students. So people from the GE Center here, we have people from our Graduate Employability Center. Perhaps during next time, we'll also have a roundtable to try and brainstorm how we can get this message across to more students. Yeah. Thank you so much.
How are you? Boleh.
Because you watching this way, right?
So we have to be socially distant, unfortunately.